Alright, so when I checked out the falls yesterday, there's a bit of a gorge which you can scramble down to. So I'm going to travel pretty lightweight. So I'm just going to take one camera, which is the Fuji X-T4 and the 16-55 f2.8. What I'm going to be chasing this afternoon is some reflections in the water in the creek. I noticed yesterday that as the sun was getting a bit lower, it was lighting up the trees on the opposite side, and that was being reflected nice and warm in the water below. So I'm going to try for some slow exposures and just capture those beautiful reflections. Alright, let's head down to the falls so you can check that out. So there's a nice easy walk down to the falls. There's a mowed section here which you just walk along, that runs beside the creek. And no doubt you're going to disturb some crimson rosellas who are feeding along here. They're pretty skittish, so they'll fly away pretty quickly. So there is a little car park just near where the walk down to the falls is. You just need to cross the creek here. So it's just a little creek that runs down and joins in the main creek. So this is the main section of the falls. You can see it's a beautiful little area, a perfect little swimming hole when it's hot in summer. Yeah, you have to be pretty careful around here of the slippery rocks. Definitely don't want to fall over here and get washed down in the water. So the fall section is quite beautiful, but where I want to go is downstream a little bit more. And it's up this way, so it's a bit of a scramble to get to. So if you walk up the top here, then you'll come to this little section here. And it's a bit of a mountain goat climb down here. So obviously you need to be really careful coming down there. There are some good little rock holds that you can clamp onto on your way down. But yeah, it's only a short little section, so it's not too difficult. Alright, so just down here is where I'm wanting to go and start capturing my first images for the day. So it's probably about 100-150 metres of section of the creek here that you can access. And it's all quite shallow with water running over little ledges like this. And you can start to see some of those reflections of the trees up there on the ridge line. Those trees and the blue sky being reflected in the water down here. So this is what I'm going to try and capture on the Fuji, get some nice images. So what I'm looking for is little sections like this where you've got the blue sky and the trees lit by the sun reflecting in the water. All right, I'm going to go a little bit further downstream and see what I can find down there. This looks like a really beautiful little spot here, so I'm going to try and capture that little bit there. So I'm shooting handheld, as you can see. The X-T4 does have image stabilization built into the body, so I can shoot around 15th of a second handheld without too many issues. But the other thing is, I'm going for a real abstract look to these images. I want a lot of blur in the water, so if there's a little bit of blur from camera shake, it probably isn't going to matter either. I will throw the camera on the tripod a little later as well, just to get some different sort of shots. And I'm going to slow the shutter speed right down to maybe around a second. But I'm going to find a different spot to do that first. All right, I'm going to head down a little bit further and just see if I can find another little spot. There are plenty of little spots here, just got to take your time and find them. Definitely a bit windy around here though. Yeah, this is a beautiful little section. I do remember this from yesterday. It's got some lovely reflections happening here. Not too much of the white water, lots of that silky smooth blue and gold reflected water. I might set the Fuji up on the tripod here and see what I can come up with. Alright, I'm starting off a quarter of a second. I don't have any neutral density filters with me, so I can't really slow the exposure down too much. I'm already at a f16 at 160 ISO, and that's the lowest native ISO that this camera can go. So a quarter of a second at f16 is giving me the correct exposure at 160 ISO. But a quarter of a second should still give me enough movement in that water. I'm using the self timer, just set it 2-second delay, just to make sure that once I take my hands away from the tripod, there's no camera shake. Alright, I'm going to try a different composition. There's a lovely spot in here with an exposed rock, just a little bit of water trickling over the top of it, and some leaves that are stuck. Alright, I'm sticking with my same exposure settings, f16, quarter of a second, 160 ISO. Alright, I'm going to try a vertical composition, a little bit of a higher angle, looking straight down. I have to get my tripod as high as I can. Going to drop this leg down a touch just so I can level it out, and that's looking pretty good. I think I might zoom in just a little bit more, get rid of the rocks. I normally don't like extending the center column, but because I've decided to bring the smaller tripod with me, I'm going to have to try it this time. Alright, I've just changed my exposure a little bit. Gone down to half a second at f/18. And compositionally, what I'm trying to get is that little flow of the white water coming through vertically through the frame. Alright, I'm going to flip back to a horizontal. And there's a lovely little subtle composition right down here in front. So I'm going to give that a go. Alright, might move on and see what else I can find. Alright, I was going to go for this little section over here, but there's a little bit too much of the white water. But looking in the other direction there, with the white water going into the background, I think that's going to be a nicer composition. So we've got some nice reflection there. So I'm going to have a crack at that one and see what I can come up with. So I'm just varying my composition here, going slightly wider, then coming in tighter and tighter, just getting more and more abstract as it goes. Alright, I'm going for a composition here I really like. Foreground has got some beautiful soft subtle water with the reflections of gold. Then you've got the white water in the top right hand edge of the frame, which is blurring beautifully, and there's hints of green coming through around that white, which is the moss underneath it. I think that's a really beautiful composition. I'm just going to look down here a little bit further, and I think it'll be time to call it a day. Starting to lose the light on the trees up there. The sun will be down below the ridge line pretty soon, and those trees won't be lit. And we're going to lose all our colour in the water. So just have a little bit more of a look down here. I think I might try one more at this rapid water up here. Even though there's not a lot of reflection there, I'll give it a crack. Yeah, so there's not a lot of colour coming through there, but there's some really lovely compositions there with the water coming over the rocks, which I think will look really good in black and white. So I'm going to throw them into Lightroom when I get home and just see how they come out. Alrighty, I think that's going to do it for the day. We've lost all that golden light reflected off the trees there now. So yeah, time to get back and start building the fire and get some dinner happening. Well, it looks like I've got the whole campground to myself tonight. Well, just me and the goannas. Hopefully they don't crawl into bed with me tonight. Starting to cool down a little bit, so I think it's about time to get this fire on and get some dinner started. So I'm pretty hungry. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, Koreelah Campground, and a little bit of a photography lesson there. Got any questions, comment below. If you want to see more of this content, please subscribe because there will be more coming. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.